Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So welcome to the weekly lecture series. And our theme for the past few weeks and for the coming weeks is death and the life after. And we've previously spoken about death itself and how death is an admonition, something that we need to try to be prepared for. And it is a reality, it is unavoidable, and it is something, because of its inevitability, we need to try our very level best to be prepared for it in the best way possible. Then we spoke about what happens after death. We talked about the grave, and we talked about al-hayat al-barzakhiyya, the limbo station between the life of this world and the life hereafter. And tonight we'll begin a discussion on the last day. And the last day is something which has a number of names in our religion. And so we're going to mention some of those names and the reasons why the last day is called by those names. And one of the reasons why a thing will have more than one name in our religion, whether it's referred to by more than one name in the Quran or the Hadith, is to indicate its importance, its significance. So you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call something by several names, or His messenger, or the two of them collectively, to indicate that this thing is of the utmost importance and significance, and that's why it is commonly called or referred to by a number of different monikers. So the first name is Al-Yawm al-Akhir, the last day, and the reason why it's called by the name is obvious, because there is no day after it. There is no day after it. The second common name is Yawm al-Hisab, the day of reckoning. Another common name is Yawm al-Jaza, the day of recompense, requital compensation. Allah says, اليوم تجزى كل نفس بما كسبت لا ظلم اليوم. This day, every soul will be compensated, will be recompensed, will be requited, right? Be requited for what it did, what it earned. لا ظلم اليوم. There will be no injustice on this day. It is also known, number 4, by the name Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of resurrection. As Allah says, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة. I swear by the day of resurrection. It is also known by the name Yawm al-Din, the day of judgment, the day of sentencing, right? Yawm al-Din. As Allah says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الدِّينِ يَوْمَ لَا تَمْلِكُ نَفْسٌ لِنَفْسٍ شَيْئًا وَالْأَمْرُ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلَّهِ. Allah, He says, and what will let you know, what will alert you to what the day of judgment or the day of sentencing is? What will alert you to what the day of sentencing is? It is the day when no soul will possess or be able to do anything for another soul, and all of the affair, all of the matter will be with Allah. Another common name for Al-Yawm al-Akhir is As-Sa'ah, the hour. Or Yawm Qiyam as-Sa'ah, the day when the hour will be established. And what is intended by the hour here is the day when the person's time is up. When the person's time is up. And so see, these are some of the common names which are used in the Quran and the Hadith to refer to the last day. What is intended by the last day? What do we intend by believing in the last day, and what we as Muslims are supposed to believe in? We're supposed to believe, as Ibn Taymiyyah expressed, وَمِنْ الْإِيمَانِ بِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ الْإِيمَانُ بِكُلِّ مَا بِكُلِّ مَا أَخْبَرَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ بِهِ مِمَّا يَكُونُ بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ. He said, believing in the last day, it entails believing in everything that the Prophet told will happen after death. So everything that happens to us after death is considered what? Is considered from believing in the last day. Some of that we've already covered when we talked about al-hayat al-barzakhiyya and life in the grave. And now we're going to talk about what happens after all that comes to an end and we are resurrected. So believing in the last day entails believing in everything that happens after death. We've discussed some of it. It also entails believing in a few other things, and we'll mention them ala wajada. So believing in the last day also entails believing in ashratu sa'a, believing in the signs of the Day of Judgment. The signs which indicate that the Day of Judgment is what? Is nigh, right? Is near, right? It also entails believing in al-ba'ath, that will be resurrected, believing in resurrection. It also entails believing in the al-hisab wal-jaza, that we will be brought to account, right? We will be brought to account, and our deeds will be turned into what? Will be turned into what? Reward. They'll be turned into a certain currency, a spiritual currency that entitles us to what? To reward or punishment. Al-hisab wal-jaza. And once our deeds are turned or transformed into a spiritual currency that entitles us to reward or punishment, we'll get what? We'll get what is commensurate with our deeds in terms of reward or punishment. Al-hisab wal-jaza. And last but not least, believing in the last day means believing in the Jannah wal-nar. Because at the end of the day, there are two abodes. There's no third abode. There's no middle path, right? Either people will be from the people of paradise, or they'll be from the people of hellfire. So we have to believe in that, believe in those two abodes, al-Jannah wal-nar. I'd like to talk now about Ashrat al-Sa'a. Talk a little bit about Ashrat al-Sa'a before we move on to talk about al-Qiyamah, resurrection, from beginning to end. So Ashrat al-Sa'a, Ashrat, this word Ashrat is the plural of the word Sharat, which basically means an alama, a sign, an indicator. وَأَشْرَاطُ السَّاعَةِ عَلَامَاتُهَا وَهِيَ قِسْمَانِ. When we say Ashrat al-Sa'a, we mean the signs or the indicators that the Day of Judgment is close. It's about to happen, it's imminent. And they are two categories. There are two categories of Ashrat al-Sa'a. The first category is al-Kubra, the major signs. And the second category is al-Sughra. Al-Sughra are those signs which indicate that relatively speaking, the Day of Judgment is close, but they don't mean it's imminent, like right around the corner. And the Kubra, the major signs, indicate that what? The Day of Judgment is what? It's imminent. It's close, like very, very near, about to happen, near to occurring, right? Near to taking place. So we have these two, and the major ones are 10 in number. The major ones are 10 in number, and we'll list them, and then I'd like to digress and talk about one of them in detail because of some doubts and some misconceptions which are currently circulating about that particular sign of the Day of Judgment. So the first major sign of the Day of Judgment is the appearance of al-Mahdi and the appearance of a Dajjal. The appearance of al-Mahdi and the appearance of the Dajjal. That's the first sign. The second major sign is Nuzul Isa. Isa will what? He'll be sent back to earth. Nuzul Isa. The third sign is Khuruj Yakjud wa Makjud. The coming out of these two tribes, of very powerful and very aggressive, savage human beings who have characteristics which makes them almost seem superhuman, right? They are from the descendants of Adam, but they have characteristics that make them seem superhuman. Like they're not human, but they are human. Yakjud and Makjud, and we're going to circle back to that one because this is the one around which there are many doubts and misconceptions. So that's the third one. Khuruj, Yakjud and Makjud, and we'll talk about that in detail. The fourth one is Khaswun fil Mashraq. Fil Mashriq, right? So there will be a sinkhole in the east. That the earth will open up and swallow what? And swallow people up. There will be a sinkhole fil Mashriq, in the east. Khasfun fil Maghrib. There will be another one, what? In the west. In the west, what? The earth will open up and what? And swallow people. So those are 5 of the 10 indicators. The Mahdi and the Dajjal will what? They'll appear. Isa will descend. Yakjud and Makjud will do what? They'll come out. Khasfun bil Mashriq, sinkhole in the east, sinkhole what? In the west. And these things will happen what? As the Prophet described, they will happen like if you took a necklace, a pearl necklace, and it was cut, the string holding those pearls together was cut, and the pearls would just go what? One after the other. This is how it will happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Khasfun fi Jazirat al-Arab. There will be another sinkhole in the Arabian Peninsula that will swallow people up. Number 7. Tulu ash-shams min maghribiha. The sun will rise from what? From the west. Number 8. Khuruj ad-dabba. A beast will come out from the earth and it will speak to the people. It will speak to the people. A beast will come out, some creature. What does it look like? How is it? Allah only knows. But it will come out and speak to the people. Then number 9, ar-riyah. There will be a wind that will do what? That everything living, it will cause it to what? To die. And then number 10, there will be what? Khuruj an-nar, which will do what? Whoever is still alive will be what? This fire will come out and it will drive all of the people to their mahshar. It will drive all the people to what? To their gathering place, one place on earth from which what? They will all be deceased and then what? And then resurrected. So these are the 10 major signs of the age of judgment. As we said, they will occur one after the other until like pearls falling from a string of a necklace. And all of these signs have come in one hadith collected by Muslim on the authority of Hudayfa ibn Usayd. So he mentions, the Prophet mentions all of these signs in one hadith, narrating them one by one, including, as we said, the fire that will come out from the Yemen and will drive people to what? To al-mahshar. Now I'd like to circle back and, with your permission, digress on Yakjud and Makjud. This tribe of almost superhuman people who have been described in the books of tafsir in many different ways, with being extremely tall, some of them extremely wide, being extremely hairy, and being extremely ferocious, to the point that one of the narrations in the books of tafsir says that if one of them dies, that they will eat that person. They will eat the one from amongst them who dies. It also mentions about the books of tafsir mention about Yakjud and Makjud, that one of them, a male from one of them, will live until he gives birth, until he has a progeny of 1,000 sons. All of them, what? Very strong and powerful and able to do what? Much damage on the battlefield. So they're described in ways which indicate what? That they are like superhuman. And they are mentioned twice in the Quran, and they're mentioned a few times in the Sunnah. So in one of the places in the Quran, it says, in Surah Al-Kahf actually, it mentions the story of Dhul-Qarnayn and the different people that he encountered and how he interacted with them. And in one of the incidents, it mentions that he came across a people who were so frightened, so, shaken up, that it was hard to understand what they were saying because they were gripped with fear. So when they spoke with so much fear that it was hard to understand what they were saying. So in the course of his interacting with them, they made it clear that Yakjud wa Makjud mufsiduna fil ard. They are wreaking havoc in the land. Yakjud and Makjud. And they asked Dhul-Qarnayn, فَهَلْ لَكَ أَن تَجْعَلَ مُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَهَلْ نَجْعَلْ لَكَ خَرَجًا أَن تَجْعَلَ بَيْنَ وَبَيْنَهُمْ سَدًّا. ممتاز. جزاك الله خير مراد. So they said, what do you think if we fix a sum that we will pay you to build for us, or build between us and them, a what? A barrier that will keep them from what? from wreaking havoc. And you have to think, what kind of havoc could these people wreak if one of them lives long enough to have 1,000 sons? If they are extremely tall and extremely wide. If they are so savage that when one of them dies, they will eat him. You have to think, what type of corruption, what type of things could they do, havoc could they wreak? So, he said, I don't need your money. I just need what? Your help, your assistance, so that I will build for you between you and them, I will build for you a barrier. And it talks about, we're going to talk about in detail about how he built the barrier, what it contained, what supplies, what building supplies he used to build this barrier to keep them what? Keep them behind. Al-Muhim, I want to mention some of the misconceptions and then address those one by one. The course of that will give more details about Yakjud and Makjud. So among the things that have been said about Yakjud and Makjud recently is that the concept of Yakjud and Makjud has been referred to by using certain inappropriate language. Language like the word tales, folklore, legend, fables. This type of language has been used to refer to the story of Yakjud and Makjud mentioned in the Quran and mentioned in the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So I want to address that first and foremost. This language is not appropriate to be used for anything mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith. In fact, this language is the language used by non-Muslims and people who Allah describes their heart as what? As sealed. This is not appropriate language for a Muslim to use when talking about something in the Quran, something which Allah talks about and the Prophet talks about as being one of the signs of the last day, something which Muslims are supposed to believe in. They should not speak about their belief in a way which belittles it or demeans it or disparages it. So I'm going to mention to you two ayat where Allah talks about the people who use this language, letting us know that we shouldn't be like them. The first one is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He's in Surah Al-An'am when He says, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَسْتَمِعُ إِلَيْكَ وَجَعَلْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ أَكِنَّةً أَنْ يَفْقَهُوهُ وَفِي آذَانِهِمْ وَقْرًا وَإِنْ يَرَوْا كُلَّ آيَةٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوكَ يُجَادِلُونَكَ يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. He says, and from them, O Muhammad ﷺ, are those who listen to you. They hear what you say. But وَجَعَلْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ أَكِنَّةً, but we have placed upon their heart a veil. أَنْ يَفْقَهُوهُ, preventing them from understanding it. وَفِي آذَانِهِمْ وَقْرًا, and in their ears there's what? There's a hole that prevents what? Prevents them from what? From hearing the message. وَإِنْ يَرَوْا كُلَّ آيَةٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَا, and if they see every ayah, every sign and indication of the truth, لَا يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَا, they will not believe in it. حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوكَ يُجَادِلُونَكَ, and until the point where when they meet you, they argue with you. After seeing all of these indications of truth, they argue with you. يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve, they say, إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ, they say this is nothing more than what? Tales of the ancients. These are nothing more than fables. This is nothing more than folklore. This is the language of who Allah says? The people who disbelieve. They're the ones who use this type of language to talk about what? The Quran al-Kareem and the stories in the Quran al-Kareem and the things that the Prophet would tell them in his traditions. We also have the ayah from Surah Al-Mutaffifin where Allah says, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا قَالَ أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ, and if our verses are recited unto him, he says, these are nothing more than tales of the ancients. كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Allah says, nay, their hearts have been sealed, right, by what they used to do. It's not that these are untruths or they're fables or folklore. They can't see the truth because what? Because their hearts are perverted. Their hearts are corrupt. So Allah blames the people who see nothing in these stories except what? Except tales and folklore. This is not appropriate language. So this is something which has been said and should not be said. The second thing is that the mention of Yakjud and Makjud in the Quran and in the Hadith has been referred to as cryptic. And by calling it cryptic, it opens the door to say that this is all majaz. It's all metaphorical. It's all symbolic. It is figurative. It's not literal. So this wall, it doesn't mean that there's actually a wall. It means that they're in limbo. They're not existing. They're a thought. They're a concept. And they'll be brought into reality later on. Something like this. And you'll see how this is totally unacceptable. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's cryptic? And I'm going to give you some examples and you tell me what's cryptic about these statements that Allah makes and the Prophet makes about Yakjud, describing them. What can be cryptic or make it seem metaphorical? It is so clear the way that Yakjud and Makjud have been described and their circumstances have been described that it's talking about a real existing people and a real existing circumstance. So first of all, Allah says, مُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. They are wreaking havoc in the earth, and He uses mufsidun. This un is a plural that is used to indicate what? A human actor or actors with free will, right? We don't use in Arabic, we don't use mufsidun for things which are what? Symbolic. We're talking about human actors or living actors with free will. That's the first thing. The second thing is he said that he starts talking about the building materials that Dhul Qarnayn used to build this wall. He said, Atuni Zubar al-Hadid. Bring me blocks of iron. Blocks of iron. What is that symbolic of? What's the symbolism in blocks of iron? Then on top of that he says, Sawa bayna sadafain. He filled the gap between the two mountain cliffs. What is symbolic about? Where is the symbolism? This is describing an actual wall being built between what? Between two mountain cliffs. Then on top of that it says that he told them, unfuhu hatta ja'alahu nara. He told them what? Blow. Until what? Until they made it a fire, a blazing fire. Where's the symbolism? It's too descriptive or described too vividly to indicate what? Symbolism. And the Arab scholars, the early Arab scholars, they say one of the indications that you're not dealing with a metaphor is when something is described with multiple what? With multiple sifat. Because every description after description means you're dealing with what? An actual thing. And describing it in a way that couldn't refer to something which is purely metaphorical. Then after that, it says, أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْهِ قِطَرًا. Pour upon it what? Water. Because once that he melted the materials, he poured water so it would do what? So it would cool and solidify. Again, making the possibility of this being symbolism far-fetched. Then, فَمَسْتَطَاعُوا أَنْ يَظْهَرُوهُ. They were unable to scale it. Again, if it was just a concept, this is just too descriptive to indicate a concept. These are real people who were put behind a real wall that they couldn't what? That they couldn't climb. They couldn't climb. Then on top of it says, وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقَبًا. And they couldn't do what? They couldn't penetrate either. They could dig and dig, try to dig through it. They couldn't climb over it. They couldn't what? Penetrate it, and they couldn't dig what? They couldn't dig under it. So they were stuck behind there. And also, it goes on to say, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّا. And when the promise of my Lord, or when the promise of my Lord comes, He will make it what? He will demolish it. Again, meaning that it's an actual wall that will remain until what? Until the promise of Allah comes, at which time it will be demolished. طيب. We also have the hadith, which is also very descriptive, described so vividly, talking about what? A real wall. And there's no room for the possibility of symbolism or being metaphorical is very remote. So we have the hadith by Ahmed on authority of Abu Hurairah, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ يَأْجُوجُ وَمَأْجُوجُ لَيَحْفُرُونَ السَّدَّ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ حَتَّى كَادُوا يَرَوْنَ شِعَاعَ الشَّمْسِ. He said every day Yakjud and Makjud, they come to this wall and they dig. They strike it with things.